right, and when we continue, a decades-old debate with renewed enthusiasm, bilingual ed in public schools. That's our Eye on Education. In our Eye on Education series tonight, John Carroll takes a new look at an old debate. How much time and resource should be spent on bilingual education? Two Hispanic educators from the same city have two very different points of view.
Graciela Trilla is a Medford assistant principal. She's Puerto Rican but was raised in New York, where she was educated solely in English. That spelled disaster when it came to communicating with her Latino family.
You realize very quickly, you not only are beneath the thought processes of just your regular, normal people, but to a great extent, you've begun to shut some doors to your opportunity with that community.
Miles away in Lawrence is Trilla's former school district, where 82% of students are non-native English speakers. Wilfredo Laboy, the Lawrence superintendent, is also Puerto Rican and was also raised in New York.
In 1974, 1975, in New York City public schools, I would have cut my wrists and poured out my blood for bilingual education.
But times have changed, and this is where Laboy and Trilla part ways. Laboy believes that after 30 years, bilingual education in Massachusetts has failed. He points to a reading test he gave students last year as proof.
The bilingual kids just bombed out. Fourth graders, not one child was reading on or above grade. Sixth grade, not one child was reading on or above grade.
The results are similar statewide. MCAS scores released this month showed 43% of limited English fourth graders failing the English exam. That's more than regular students and students with disabilities combined. 53% of limited English fourth graders failed the math portion. So this year, Laboy has overhauled his bilingual education program. Students in kindergarten through second grade are being taught by English immersion.
The restructuring immersion is not a sink and swim, but it's a language acquisition, 80 or 90% in English, with a Spanish professional, paraprofessional in the classroom, helping children clarify ideas in their native language.
Name the most abundant. Okay, do we all know what the word abundant means? Yeah. Very good.
I think every single child in this country that does not have English cannot compete in the language of power and culture and enterprise and in this country is at a tremendous disadvantage. This is about a moral and professional responsibility.
Graciela Trilla couldn't disagree more. Responsibility, she says, means committing the resources to educate bilingual students both ways, in English and their native language. What's more, she says, bilingual education actually enhances learning.
Higher levels of English proficiency are gained, and higher levels of academic achievement are gained. We know that when a strong foundation has been established in the native language.
In fact, Trilla wants more time spent in bilingual programs, not less, as she explains with a bit of creative math.
A 5-year-old child, in order to function in English, not having proficiency, fluent proficiency at age 5, would need to do the equivalent of 15 months learning in a 10-month period for a period of 5 years at the very least. Anything less is statistically improbable.
But with the national attitude toward bilingual education increasingly negative, Trilla will be lucky to hold her ground, never mind gain any.
Okay, and with me now are Representative Jarrett Barrios of Cambridge, who supports bilingual programs and would offer choices to parents, and Lincoln Tamayo of English for the Children of Massachusetts, who supports the idea of one-year immersion programs. Jarrett Barrios, we've been having this debate for decades now. Has not the time come to try something different?
Absolutely.
Completely different? And I guess I'm going to say, what is wrong with the immersion program?
Absolutely. The current law is a one-size-fits-all solution, transitional bilingual education. Children from different ages have the same program. Now you might ask, why am I criticizing this current law? I'm criticizing it for the same reason I criticize this ballot initiative that this gentleman, the millionaire from California, is coming to Massachusetts with. He's saying instead of transitional bilingual education, we have to have a one-size-fits-all, one-year sink-or-swim program. The reality is children at different ages learn differently. So give the schools the flexibility to have different kinds of programs that
He
meet their
points to
needs.
huge successes.
Well, actually,
This is the Pop
Yes.
227 guy in California. He points to huge successes in standardized testing and says, we have the proof that
The first year
immersion program works.
the first year his test scores went up, the second year they came down. Interesting point that he made was that in the second year he said, well, some of my success stories are no longer considered limited English students because they're now in regular programs. Well, that's the same case as you saw with our MCAS scores. If the 43% of children who failed the MCAS or who passed the MCAS in English, next year they're not going to be in that program. By definition, children who are performing poorly are going to be the ones in those programs.
Okay.